and look at following through on some of the commitments that are placed in, I guess I'm going to have to say, the narrative about mainly the liaison officer and the support to the business development committee as outlined. Does that take care of it? Okay.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, and I'm not going to repeat it, but it's basically option D with the D. E. E as in A.
E as in A.
Yes. E as in A. Any further discussion? Brent?
Martha, I just wanted to say, to summarize, I mean, it's not, in my mind, maybe I'm just looking at it different, I understand what my colleagues are saying here, but we're not taking money from the businesses here. There's going to be some savings to the city in costs that are going to be covered now. These disproportionate costs are going to be covered by these fees. And an economic development, I think, is something that is needed for our city. We're already doing it. As I said, this is not a new cross this bridge. We have unanimous support on the Chamber of Commerce funding. I think as I look at this, no one wants a higher fee. And if at the same time we can implement something new with some of the savings the city is going to see to benefit those who paid it, to me, that seems a lot more palatable to me than just we're raising the fee. So I think it's a win for the city in that we get some revenue to cover additional costs, and a win for our business community in that we are going to be doing some additional things to them that are some things we're already doing. We're building on those.
Carl?
I just need to say that if you have your own income and you're overspending what you're bringing in, you're going to lose a lot. You'll end up going bankrupt, your home and everything. Basically, our city has been doing that with these fees. We've been not getting money that we need, and that's just the truth. People talk about the hard times. The hard times hits the city also, and we understand that. That's why this has been deliberated since February. And so I just want everybody to know that we're not trying to take money from people because we feel like we want to, but we have to. I mean, it's just the way it is. We're just losing money, and when you're losing money, you got to figure out what you got to do to stop the bleeding. And so that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you. Lee?
I agree with what you said, Carl, with if you're losing money, you stop the bleeding, but there's more than one way to achieve that. And I would prefer us to look at our spending, and that's I would do that first with my own family. First, if we weren't paying the bills, I'd take a look at seeing is there any place that we can cut back before. But it's easy to spend somebody else's money. But for example, on this that we're looking at, for those that don't see it, I mean, the video store, one video store, disproportionate fee, $335. Mark my words, they're going to go out of business. They're already competing with Redbox and what's the one that's done online
Netflix
now and everything, Netflix. There's going to be an empty store there. They're struggling to survive now. I don't know if anybody checks into that and talks to the business owners. But it's just it's not going to work for them. But I'm definitely against this, and this is a reason that I will reiterate. I've asked several times to get a record of the police calls to the businesses, and I've been told, well, that's too expensive or whatever. But and last time we discussed it, I had mentioned the communication with the county, and where they just have the addresses and police calls on the roads go to addresses. Okay, and he's done a lot of research on that. And then we've got an email that says, well, we looked into it and they didn't look at the addresses, And so what I've asked all along, and I said before, maybe it's justified, these fees, but why can't we as the elected officials that are gonna vote on business owners and rental owners, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Why can't elected officials that are expected to vote on this get the concrete, not just take a survey or a study that the company did? Because I know that the county does not have the specific information from police calls to each specific business. And so that study got the information from the county and information given to them from the city. Well, if the city had the specific information to give to that company that did the survey, certainly we still have it. If I looked at it and it was justified that we were losing money because of the police there, I'd say, and I bet every business owner in North Ogden would say, okay. But why can't we see it for ourselves? And I keep asking and it's just blown under the rug like it doesn't matter. And so the reason we keep discussing this a billion times is because there's no other additional information ever given to us. And I still believe that a lot of those calls that received were from addresses that were from automobiles stopped on the street. And Washington Boulevard and 2600 are the main corridors coming to and from work, going to Weber High and back. So there's going to be more stops there. And I really believe that was included in the study. If not, I would like to see the police calls to each business. And if it's justified, I'll be the first to vote for it.
Point of information, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think that's a very good point that's been raised. I understand the gentleman from this study is here. Could we get an answer on that before voting?
Yeah. He's been asked to contribute to this.
Yes, my name is Fred Philpott. I'm with Lewis & Young. We completed the business license fee study. With regard to the questions, the traffic-related calls, we do not include traffic-related calls that are coded by the county as traffic-related calls. So I don't geocode those. How we do look at those as a cost per call. So we have to look at the budget and include all of the calls as calls for service to determine what a cost per call is. But actually attributing calls in the geocoding process, and what I mean by geocoding is where I actually take all of those addresses, I filter out any traffic coded calls from within the police data. They have their code system that classifies each call as a type. We take out all of those that are coded as traffic calls, then put those on a map. And the reason why we use the geocoding process is because a lot of streets have aliases and alternate addresses that you can't just match straight address to address. You have to look at aliases and alternative addresses. So we put those points on a map, and then we take the businesses and also perform the same analysis and match up where those points align to see what the call data is. So I can assure you that we do not, when we get the call data from any entity, we take out traffic-related calls that are coded as traffic-related calls. Then we take that database and geocode that call data.
But it is the guy to talk to. Can I ask you a question? Thank you for clarifying that. Did you get this? Did you get specific the police calls to each specific business, so you know where the police calls went?
Yeah, we do not. That's part of the analysis. So we do not take. The city doesn't provide any of those ratios or attribute any calls to any business. We take the business license data that the city provides, so the database of addresses that they have associated with each business, and we match those to the calls for service. So we perform that join of call data to business license data and provide those ratios that you see in the report.